Crazy things happening in the world right now that you probably didn't know about. First up, a brain chip was implanted into a paralyzed man, which allowed him to send out tweets with just his mind. This tweet was written by 62-year-old Philip O'Keefe by just thinking it. Next, NASA might know something that we don't, because apparently they hired religious scholars to prepare humanity for alien contact. And turns out we're not done with the virus because the first cases of flu Rona was found. But believe it or not, there's even more. There might be a whole new pandemic in 2022 called the bird flu. But let's end on a more positive note. 2 inventors in Kenya created the first ever bio-robotic arm that's controlled by only brain signals. It was mainly invented to help disabled people with everyday tasks. Follow for more.
This man has been raising his hand for 45 years without once putting it down. And as you can see, there have been some pretty nasty consequences to his arm and his hand, but more on that in a second, because first, the question is, why? Well, he was just a regular guy working at a bank, living a modest life with his wife and 3 children. But one day he had an epiphany, which made him choose to leave his family, job, friends, in order to follow his religious calling. Now, to demonstrate his commitment to the faith, he raised his hand and never put it down. At first, the pain in his arm was terrible, but after the first 2 years, he started losing any sort of sense in his hand and arm, and with that, the pain obviously went away. He has lost circulation to his hand, and those weird spirally things are his nails. His shoulder has also calcified in that position, so even if he wanted to put it down, he probably wouldn't be able to do it without snapping his shit up.
Things you never knew your body was capable of. Your brain can hold 25 million gigabytes of information. Your bones are 5 times stronger than steel. Human bodies glow in the dark, your eyes just can't detect it. You become 35% stronger when you have an adrenaline. 50% of your grip strength comes from your pinky finger.
Only ride this roller coaster one time. Ilionis Urbanus created this coaster called the Euthanasia Coaster. When you first board the coaster, you'll notice that it starts to ascend up to a stifling height of 510 feet. This is just under the height of the tallest building in America. The coaster itself can hold up to 24 passengers, and when you reach the top, you're confronted with a decision. At the top, you're allowed to decide to go back to safety, or if you choose, click a button to manually continue the ride. After those who chose to are returned to safety, the ride drops you at 223 miles per hour. It then proceeds to put you through 7 loops, which increasingly get smaller and smaller. This is done to allow 10 Gs of force to be continuously placed on the riders for a full 60 seconds. This causes all the blood in the body to be drawn towards the feet, leaving none left for your brain. People then slowly lose consciousness and fade away to their end. This ride was designed for people with incurable diseases who wanted a painless way to go.
Things we all do. Pretending not to notice the money in a birthday card every time. Texting LMFAO, I'm screaming when you barely even screamed. Facts. Having full-on conversations with yourself, I do it all the time. Asking what, even though you heard what the person said. Yes. Counting the steps when going up and down stairs. Why do we do that? Using your fingers to figure out simple math problems you could easily solve in your head. Guess again. Waiting for your phone to stop ringing so you can use it again. Elite.
Did you know that when you have a pimple on your chin, that means someone's thinking about you? And when you have a pimple on your forehead, that means you're thinking about someone else. These things are just what the Asian legends state. So if you have a pimple on your forehead, don't worry about it. That just means you're thinking about someone. And if you have a pimple on your chin, that's okay. And if you don't get pimples, I'm jealous of you.
Some of the most ridiculous facts in the world. The #1 buyer of explosives in the world is the US military. #2 is Disney. Oklahoma's state vegetable is the watermelon. On an unrelated note, Oklahoma ranks 43rd in education. In Japan, more paper is used to make manga than toilet paper. Saddam Hussein wrote an erotic novel called Zabiba and the King that was actually a bestseller. Speaking of literature, the longest piece of English literature ever written is 4 million words long, was written by a single person, and is Super Smash Bros. Fan fiction. And on a final sad note, the singer of Peanut Butter Jelly Time died after an 11-hour standoff with police, during which his brother-in-law, Snoop Dogg, tried to calm him down and convince him to surrender. Follow me for more strange facts.
You were today years old when you realized the candy lifesavers are shaped like a lifesaver because if a kid chokes on one, the hole in the middle will save their life because they'll still be able to breathe. I was today years old when I realized that the Krusty Krab is a crab trap. Next, after you take off the caps on these Kool-Aid drinks, you can actually flip it around and reclose your drink. Okay, flames don't have shadows. Did you know that Sid from Toy Story 1 is also the garbage man from Toy Story 3? And I was today years old when I realized that a Gatorade cap fits perfectly at the bottom of a Gatorade bottle.
This isn't an animal video, but I feel like not enough people know this, and I honestly have nothing better to do. So I was going back and forth with one of my friends, and we were insulting each other the way only real friends can. Like she would say, at least I got 2 functional knees, so I said, at least I got 2 functional parents. You know, cute stuff like that. And she was like, at least my nipples work. I did not tell you where that flex came from, but fun fact. Men actually can produce milk, and it happens more often than you think. Men's nipples are fully functional, it's just that they get suppressed by male hormones. And the hormone responsible for making milk is prolactin, and the production of prolactin is controlled by dopamine and estrogen. Basically, these hormones send a message to the pituitary gland and tell it to either stop or continue releasing prolactin. But sometimes a hormone malfunction can cause men to lactate. The weirdest example I can think of is back in World War II. When prisoners of war ate a full meal after being starved for months, their hormones shot up faster than their liver could keep up with, causing them to spontaneously lactate. Also, if your pituitary gland forgets that it's not supposed to release prolactin, you can end up dripping Nesquik too. In really rare cases, nipple stimulation while holding a baby was enough to cause lactation in some men. But also there's a chance it means you have a tumor. So yeah, men can produce milk, and I can't produce a healthy way to explain
Weird
it.
celebrity facts that you didn't know. Actor Daniel Radcliffe wore the same outfit for 6 months straight just to piss off and ruin the photos of some paparazzi who constantly harassed him. Love it. Despite his profanity-laced lyrics, rap god Eminem does not allow any profanity in his household. President Abraham Lincoln thought of himself as ugly. There was a time he was accused of being two-faced, and he simply replied, "If I had 2 faces, would I be wearing this one?" Stunt acting legend Jackie Chan and his stunt team are blacklisted from every insurance company. If someone on his movie gets hurt, Jackie Chan has to pay for it himself. Actress Judy Garland was put on a diet while filming the movie The Wizard of Oz. That diet consisted of chicken soup, coffee, and cigarettes. She was 16 years old at the time. I could make an entire video just on the horrors of what went into making this film, let alone the tragedies of early Hollywood. Follow for more.
Oh my god! Oh dear god! Are you filming? Yes, I'm filming! Let's go!
Now where's your body? Let's find out. Only 10% of people have something called Darwin's tubercle, and it's this little bump on the outside of your ear, and it's believed that people who have this are better at sensing voice tonality. 16% of people can make a roaring noise in their head using their jaw. They're able to do this because they can control a small muscle in their jaw that normally deafens chewing, but when it's flexed, it makes that roaring noise in your head. Only about 35% of people can gleek, and only 1% can do it on command. And gleeking is just when you're squirting saliva from underneath your tongue. Only 10% of people have something called Morton's toe, and this is where your big toe is shorter than the toe next to it, and believe it or not, the Statue of Liberty actually has a Morton's toe. Only 30% of people can flare their nostrils on command, and believe it or not, everyone can flare their nostrils, and we do it all the time subconsciously, but that muscle is rarely used and is weak, so it's hard to do for some people.
This is the worst torture method you'll ever see. It's called tickle torture, but don't let the name fool you. Now, this technique originated in China back in 200 BC, but the way the Romans did it was so much worse. First, your feet will be strapped down and covered in honey, and then thirsty goats will come and lick them. Now, at first, the rough tongue of the goat will tickle you, sending you into a fit of laughter. The only problem is they cover your feet over and over again until the goats start licking into your flesh. This exposes the millions of ultra-sensitive nerve endings at the bottom of your feet. Eventually, your brain can't handle it, and you'll die in a state of shock.